It was Saturday morning when 3 helicopters landed at Blue Ridge National Park, with Troop 1, 2, and 3, Army National Guard. Soon after landing, Troops 1, 2, and 3 began setting up their base camp, plus one large tent for the officers' headquarters. North Carolina Army National Guard 33rd Battalion were told they would be looking for young boy and his sister that disappeared in the park last night. The National Guard troops suited up to get ready to search for the 2 missing children that went missing last night mysteriously. Just before the search was on the way, each troop sergeant had a meeting with the officers in charge and gave each troop leader new orders. Their new orders were to be secret. No civilian was to be informed of these new orders, top secret. The new orders were to find what was responsible for the children's disappearance, capture or kill what was responsible for taking the 2 and prepare them for transport to Area 51. If the children are found alive and have seen what had captured them, kill the boy and girl and make it look like they wandered away from the campsite in the dark and fell down a deep ravine. The 3 troops were to fan out into 3 different areas and search for the entity or entities that kidnapped the children. NORAD had captured on radar a UFO in the area of Blue Ridge National Park last night and believes the missing children may be related. Several of the men in Troops 1 to 3 were not prepared to murder any children, no matter how secret the mission was. Most of the soldiers had family and had a wife or husband and kids waiting at home for them to return. The sergeant of each troop expressed their concerns about the men not wanting to murder innocent children to the higher rank officers. Worried that the mission may take a wrong turn, the officers changed the order to also prepare the boy and girl to be transported to Area 51 as well. There they can handle the situation, and just tell the parents they were never found during their search for them and the forest rangers also in the dark about this mission. The search started soon after the new orders were given, around 8:30 a.m. It was now around 1600 hours, 4 p.m., and nothing has been found as of now. Sometime around 2100 hours, Sergeant Barnes of Troop 2 spotted some flashing of light in Area 3. These lights were very bright and seemed to be flashing very fast. Just then Sergeant Jones of Troop 3 was calling for help on their radios. His voice sounded terrified, and all of a sudden nothing over the radio, but could still hear the sound of the other men having a firefight with something out there, and from the sounds of it, they were losing. Sergeant Barnes ordered his men to put on the night vision equipment on and redirected his troop into the 3rd section to find out what the hell was going on. Everything seems to be quiet now, with once in a while a gunshot and a scream can be heard. When Sergeant Barnes and his men got to the location where Troop 3 was, when all the flashes of light and sounds of screaming took place. It looked like a bomb went off at this location. There is blood, bits, and pieces of body parts all over, not enough to ID someone. I told my men to look for someone alive and report back to me. As my men were searching for anyone alive, a large round disc began to float over this area, and I saw a bright flash of light and a loud thud. Right after, I spotted a lizard-type being. All of Troop 1 and myself took cover behind something, trying to hide from the alien creature. Just then a triangle-shaped UFO came in fast and started shooting some kind of energy beam hitting the round alien spacecraft. The round UFO was damaged enough to bring it down. It crashed pretty hard into a heavily wooded area. My men were able to overpower the lizard-type creature and capture it alive. As the local Army National Guard entered inside the round disc that crashed moments ago, the spacecraft was found open, which means some of its crew has fled into the forest. I ordered the other half of my men to pursue after the alien beings that escaped. They were to capture them alive if they can, but do not let any of them get away. So me and 4 others entered into the flying saucer and found a room with what it looks like 8 exam tables, 2 with the missing boy and girl. The other 6 tables were 6 of the men from Troop 3. All 6 of the National Guardsmen were dead and half eaten and had bled out. The boy and girl were missing one arm that had been removed by someone with surgical knowledge, but were alive and well. While exploring the disk, the triangle-shaped UFO landed. This spacecraft was part of the United States Space Force. They had picked up the top officers for Army National Guard, U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Space Force. They were there to prepare the alien beings, dead or alive, and the boy and girl to be moved to Area 51. One of the pilots with the Space Force said the reptilian alien beings were part of the secret Space Force that was controlled by the Cabal, and more likely the boy and girl were being harvested for their adrenochrome for one of the Cabal sacrifice. He also said they could have sold the rest of Troop 3 to an off-planet slave trade. Everyone made their way back to base camp, where they had to be debriefed on what had happened. It was found that the reptilian aliens were behind the abduction of the boy and girl with the possible purpose of a child sacrifice for the Cabal. 2. The attack on Troop 3, the soldiers were traded to the off-world slave trade, and what wasn't sold became food. 3. The United States Space Force objective was to take down the reptilian spacecraft, captured, or if they resisted, shoot to kill. 4. Army National Guard 33rd Battalion was to help prepare the alien beings, dead or alive, and the 2 human boy and girl to be taken to Area 51. That was the last part of our mission and the last time I saw the boy and girl. That was some 21 years ago. I am an Army National Guard captain now, and I just received new orders that will put me as the new captain, head of security of Area 51. Getting my new orders has made me think of that mission that day 21 years ago. It has made me think of what really did happen to the boy and girl. Were they murdered to keep the whole mission secret? I may be able to find out when I start my new position. I was to report to Area 51 in 2 days. I was to report to the front gate at 8 a.m. at Area 51 in 2 days to relieve the Captain Hall that is retiring. I arrived at a special airport located in Las Vegas, and from there was flown to the airstrip at Area 51 and taken by bus to the front gate. I reported to the front gate on time and was greeted by one of the security National Guardsmen and taken to Captain Hall, the retiring captain. He explained what my job was as head of security there at Area 51 and what Colonel Smith expected from his new head of security. Sergeant Hall went over the map of Area 51, telling me what sections I had clearance and what areas I did not. Captain Hall took me to meet our boss, Colonel Jack Smith. He was a colonel in the U.S. Space Force, which in a branch off the United States Air Force. The 3 of us spoke for a while, but I kept looking at the colonel as if I have met him before somewhere, and plus his left arm had a green tint to his skin. A couple seconds later, Captain Hall excused himself to give us some time to get to know each other. I could not help myself and asked the colonel if we had ever met before. The colonel explained that we had met 21 years ago when the colonel was just 10 years old. When my sister and I arrived at Area 51, we were to be silenced once and for all, but the commanding officer, General Peterson, took us in to live with him, knowing we would never be allowed to leave Area 51. I decided to enlist in the Space Force in my early teens, and my sister decided to become a scientist and work for the government. They arranged a way my sister to get the training that she needed. After a while it was determined that we would keep their secret without fear of us saying anything. Colonel Smith then asked me if I had any other questions for him. I answered no, that was all I needed for now. I still wanted to ask the colonel about how they were able to grow a new arm that had a bit of a green tint to the skin of their new arm, but I figured that was enough for now. In the next couple of days, I had run into the colonel's sister Jane in the officers' mess. She just smiled as she looked at me and said thank you so much for being there that night to save us. I smiled and pointed to the new arm that was a greenish tint. She just smiled and said to the captain, "That question, I am sorry, is top secret."